So I hear you were terrorizing Mr. Morgan's class again.
Expressing my opinion is not a terrorist action.
The way you expressed your opinion to Bobby Ridgway. By the way, his testicle retrieval operation went quite well, in case you're interested.
I still maintain that he kicked himself in the balls.
Yeah, people perceive you somewhat
tempestuous.
Heinous bitch is the term used most often.
Welcome to Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Couch Potato Theater celebrates our favorite movies, which include all those hidden gems, cult classics, guilty pleasures, box office blockbusters, and failures. You may own a copy of these movies, but when it comes on TV, you love what you are watching so much you don't get off that couch. And that is the definition of what our show is all about. I'm Kevin, your host for this special Couch Potato Theater. We're proud to celebrate Couch Potatoes Theater's 10 Things I Hate About You. And I'd like to introduce my co-host for this Couch Potato Theater. With me is my lovely fiancé, Erin Gill. How are you?
G'day, mate. How are you? I'm in lockdown again. Go Victoria, the worst Spice Girl.
Let people know where you are recording from.
I'm in my bedroom in Melbourne, Australia, in the state of Victoria, where half of it's in lockdown and half of it's not. We're all a bit confused.
I know how you feel. We're all feeling it. And our other wonderful co-host here is Jennifer Walk. Jennifer, how are you doing in lockdown?
I'm doing as best as can be expected.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. But before we move on, let's tell the listeners where they can find the Fandom Podcast Network and Couch Potato Theater. Fandom Podcast Network, the master feed is at fpnet.podbean.com. Also, you can find the Fandom Podcast Network on the Podbean app. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Fandom Podcast Network. My name is Kevin. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. Erin, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram under Audrey Worm.
And Jennifer, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at ChefStomp91.
Awesome. There's two ways you can support the Fandom Podcast Network and Couch Potato Theater. First is we love reviews. Head on over to Apple Podcast or iTunes and please leave us a rated review. Just search Fandom Podcast Network there. And if you like what you're listening to on Couch Potato Theater, please leave us a review. We love 5-star reviews, of course, but we love feedback in general. Also, the other way you can support us is at TeePublic. Help support the Fandom Podcast Network and Couch Potato Theater by going on there and buying your favorite Couch Potato Theater t-shirts and other apparel. Please search Couch Potato Theater or Fandom Podcast Network. All right, here we are. Couch Potato Theater, 10 Things I Hate About You. Now, before we start, Jennifer, I want to ask you, we were talking about some of our favorite teen movies recently on Time Warp. This is one of those films that jumped out at you. Why?
Having read the source material, The Taming of the Shrew, in high school and being unanimously voted as Katarina or Kat, I loved the new take on it. Shakespeare's original work is really misogynistic. Petruchio treats Katarina really bad. The way they updated it with this version was a much better take and kind of a more female empowerment story, which I really enjoyed.
Gotcha. Erin, you also love this film. What is it about you, real quick, that why this film resonates with you?
I think it was mainly the script was smart, it was funny, it had great quotes. Again, it was likable, it's got a good heart, but its soundtrack was amazing. So I think it was just a movie that sort of capped off the end of 1999. And, before sort of you had some of the sort of real funny American Pies and stuff like that. I just think that this sort of was a bit more brought back. Everyone was great in it.
Yeah, I think it stood the test of time, too. We'll talk about that in a minute. Quick plot description there as a reminder. In an updated version of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, new kid Cameron is head over heels for the popular sophomore Bianca Stratford. But Bianca's overprotective father forbids her to date Cameron unless Bianca's older, ill-tempered, rebellious sister Kat dates. Self-obsessed popular Joey Donner wants Bianca, so he makes a deal and uses sullen senior Patrick Verona to attempt to win Kat's heart. Will Patrick be able to win Kat over, and Cameron, will he be able to date Bianca? Let's talk about the theatrical poster here. I think the most famous one, of course, has the nice big green label, says 10 Things I Hate About You, and it shows the main cast right there. And then there's another one that I have on my Blu-ray where it just shows Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger. Julia sitting in a chair, and Heath Ledger is kind of leaning over the chair as well. What's your first take on the posters here and the DVD cover here, Jennifer? I
kind of prefer the one with just Patrick and Kat. I think it was more striking for me with the two of them. Whereas with the group photo and the 10 Things I Hate About You, you kind of see ensemble pictures, and having come from ensemble pictures like singles and things like that, it almost, to me, initially when I saw it, was like, yeah, no, I don't want to see that. But then when you see the other version, to me at least, I'm like, oh, adorable Heath Ledger, my favorite word.
A little more.
And Julia Stiles, it was more impactful to me.
That's a good point. I also know, too, the main poster that has the cast is missing David Krumholtz, who plays Michael, Cameron's friend. I always wondered why that was.
So you've got a picture of yours.
What's that?
Because you're...
Aaron, wait, hold on. Aaron, what would you say, Aaron?
On the backing of your picture, he's in it.
Ah, gotcha.
So I think there was the two versions. There was two versions of it. There was the longer version where they added the 2 extra cast.
Yes.
And then that was the shorter version. So I don't think the poster was I think the 90s started the sort of decade of what I call the boring poster, really. It was just, lots of faces, like from Scream to, Final Destination. They were all the sort of same. So it was just, there was no thought behind the posters. It was just stick everybody's faces on there. So the poster was not a reason for me to go see it. Though I have to say I'll probably go with Jennifer. Being a little bit older now, I think I go for the more of the Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles image. I think that's a better poster.
So we have some movie taglines here. There are so many different ways to hate. Count them yourself. How do I loathe thee? Let me count the ways. Romeo, oh Romeo, get out of my face. They're spitefully romantic, and I pine and I perish. Now, as I referenced earlier in the podcast, we had done a podcast on Time Warp talking about our favorite teen comedies, high school teen comedies from the 80s and the 90s, and we're pitting them together. And one of the things about the 90s was there was a few in the beginning of the 90s with Clueless right there in the middle of 95. 98, we get Can't Hardly Wait. And then 99, we get like 12 or 13 of them. It's crazy. Of course, with 10 Things I Hate About You, American Pie, Drive Me Crazy, She's All That, Varsity Blues, a bunch of them in there. And I remember, what's funny is, I remember saying in that podcast that my favorite of the 90s was She's All That. But I recently did a rewatch of both of them, including, of course, 10 Things I Hate About You, prepping for this thing. And I've switched my opinion on that because 10 Things I Hate About You is actually aged better than She's All That. And I wanted to get your guys' opinion on it because I think that we're all on the same thing here. We feel like maybe this one's aged a lot better because it's smartly written. Would you agree, Aaron?
Yes, I've not seen She's All That. So I think probably She's All That's still stuck in the 90s.
Big
where 10 Things I Hate About You, because it came from where it's come from, even though it's not the exact story of Taming of the Shrew, but it is, borrowed from that. I also think the way they did a lot of pop cultural references, Dawson's Creek, they bring up all that sort of stuff. But I think because it wasn't so, it's got more of a across the board feel. Even in another 20 years, and I was watching it with my mum yesterday because she hadn't seen it, and I turned around and said, "My God, this is like 21 years old," and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I watched it 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's aged very well. That's a great point.
Yeah, even without the technology, they're still using normal phones and stuff like that, and beepers, which I always think was, funny. It has aged. It's aged really, really well. And I think it comes down to the music it was across the board again. The music was a lot of covers from different eras. It wasn't just stuck of 90s music. And, and I think it all comes down to the script. The script was really, really well done.
Jennifer, I know you've seen several of these teen films in the 1999, including Can't Hardly Wait. What is it about 10 Things I Hate About You that shines over the rest of these?
So with your example of She's All That, okay, we're really going to believe that taking the glasses off is going to make me into so hot. Not going to happen. Not at all realistic. However, being a penis bitch and somebody who is strong-willed and very secure in her opinions, to have that portrayed realistically, and as women get more agency and are able to get on a more level playing field, even now we're still fighting for it. It's very current today, whereas She's All That is just, here, I'm going to turn you Cinderella. You're going to be awesome. You're going to be the queen.
It's a little more cartoony, Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. So let me ask you guys about the first time you saw this. When and where? Do you remember it? Was it in the theater? Was it on video? Was it on, a pay channel? Jennifer, back at you.
I rented it. Because in 99, I was moving to Reno, and it came out about the time I was moving to Reno. So, but when it came out on video, and it was still video. Yeah. We rented it on video and saw it, and I think I watched it like 6 times.
Did you return it on time, or did you end up buying it?
No, I returned it on time. I'm one of those people, I'll rent it and then put it back, and then if I want to watch it again, I'll go get it again. So,
what about you, Erin? When and where did you first see this?
I was living in London. I don't think I saw it at the cinema. I have a horrible feeling. No, I know what I ended up having it as. It was that first time where you could get the naughty copy.
Pirated copies.
Sort of, maybe. Yes, it was. And I can't remember who, a friend of mine had it. And I think I actually might have gone to a place like probably Camden Market and bought it for like $10 as a pirate.
Off one of those street vendors there?
Yeah. No, I did. I remember because I think I must have seen it at the cinema. I don't remember where I saw it at the cinema, and I probably did. I probably went with James. But I think I saw it at the cinema, and I so loved it that I wanted it now. I wanted to watch it again. So I went to Camden, and I got a pirated copy, which actually was quite good, but it was that very tinny sound, and you saw people's heads. You were lucky someone didn't go to the toilet.
You see people walking across the theater as it was being filmed.
And it always had that tinny open sound. It was just that weird, now you can take a concert on your Samsung. It sounds, professional. But in those days, no. So, yeah.
Out of curiosity, how long did you have that pirated copy?
Oh, I don't know, until it probably would have come out.
Right.
So you would have had a longer turnover time from cinema to video.
Right.
It would have been way longer. It could have been 6 months. It wouldn't have been that quick. It's at the cinema, we bring it out 2 seconds later. So I was so desperate to have it because I was a massive Heath Ledger fan. We had just seen in the same year Two Hands, and I saw that at a film festival, the London Film Festival.
Good movie that Heath Ledger was in, yeah.
Yeah, Brian Brown. Yeah. Excellent Australian film. Please go and check it out if you can find it. And so I was a massive Heath Ledger fan then, and then he brought out Knight's Tale, and I might have had the poster in my bedroom, even though I was a woman of 30. Don't go there.
So this came out in March of 99. I had just moved to Virginia the previous January of 99. And I was working for a game company that made this Star Wars and Star Trek card game, and everyone was abuzz about the Star Wars episode release coming up in May. And there's a new card game my company was working for. And I remember I was like on the road, like I was like a traveling salesman. So I think I may have seen this in the theater while I was traveling. I know I saw it on video as soon as it came out, but I also may have seen it in, as we call Spankter Vision, in the hotel rooms where you pay to watch movies before they come out. They were in the theaters, but they'll go to hotel rooms first, and you can pay like $15 or whatever, some exorbitant amount instead of the normal movie ticket price to watch it.
You sure you're watching those movies and not the other movies?
Anyway,
a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, I reckon, happening there.
Anyway, so I know I seen it sometime around the time it came out, and I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought that the music was very good as well. And then of course eventually I got it on DVD when it came out. I want to ask you guys, what were some of your favorite scenes in the film, Jennifer?
So when Kat's talking to her sister and she's like, "What? Like, look at me. Like, I still use that one to this day. When Daryl Mitchell starts rapping Shakespeare, I think and having watched 10 Things I Hate About You on Disney Plus, and then going right into Hamilton, I think a revised version would be really cool if Lin-Manuel Miranda took it and kind of ran with it.
Right.
But those ones, Joey Donner, Bianca, I'm shooting a nose spray ad tomorrow. It just,
the punch out scene at the prom.
yes. And it's there's so many quotable lines in this movie that still pertain today that I use.
We'll get to the quotes in a minute. Those are good scenes. Were there any other scenes that jump out at you?
The substance scenes, like we talked in the Time Warp about, like, Valley Girl had substance in the montage when he's walking around in the stores and she's there and she's kind of like, wait a minute, what's going on? That whole the substantive thing with no dialogue.
Like when she's playing the guitar with the headphones on. And
he's kind of stalking her in the bookstore and stuff like that. Right. So things like that.
That's cool. Aaron, what are some of your favorite scenes in the film?
I have to say, the substance scenes, or as I like to call them, the quiet scenes. And that's it with him. And, it's the song. And she's what's the woman's name who's singing it? Tracy
Chapman?
Tracy Chapman, yes, that's
Tracy
it.
Chapman?
She's singing the song in the background. I find the bit at the party where she's on the swing with him, Patrick and Kat are only when she's drunk. I think all those little quiet scenes are probably my favorites. I think when it gets a little bit sort of, with the party, and when I get with this sort of a little bit sort of cartoonish scenes and don't resonate with me, but then I think I might have been a bit older and I can know where they go with that. But when it's sort of calmed down, I really love those scenes. And the scene at the end when she talks, she does the poem to him and she starts to cry. And I have to say I teared up again last night. Yesterday when I watched it, because it is a beautiful, beautiful scene.
That's a good one,
Yeah, I mean, there's and just the quotes, there's so many of them. I have one favorite, which I use all the time, and it's a very short one, which is probably no one's. It's just something that always locked in, but we'll get to it in a minute. So,
okay. It's interesting rewatching this. It seems like it just goes from one great scene to another to another. My favorite is I love the crane shot when you first come down onto the Stratford house and it comes down into the front room where you see Kat reading the book and then her father comes in. I love that. And we're going to talk about that house coming up a little bit. I love the scene where Joey draws the dick on Michael's face.
See, that's a boy scene. such a boy.
It still makes me laugh.
Of course it does.
But I think my favorite scene, at least one of them, is when Patrick realizes that they learn about all the secrets about Kat, what she likes, and he kind of makes a comment about, oh, I got to start listening to girl bands that can't play their instruments. But I like it when he goes to Club Skunk, I think it is, and the band Letters from Cleo is playing there, but I think they're called something else. And this is where you kind of get Patrick kind of starts to fall for her for real, I think. And I think Kat is kind of starting to do the same. And I really, really like that because there's that genuine laugh that Kat does when he kind of accidentally says, you're looking so sexy, and all the sound goes down, everyone hears it.
So just a question on that scene, while we're on that scene. Is that a gay club? Because I know they say to him, you've got to go there. And he says, I can't be seen there. And then when you go there, it's a lot of women. And I'm like, and Mum said, is it a gay club? And I went, I never thought it really was. But is it? Is that what the whole thing was?
I don't know. What do you think,
Jen?
Full
of women. Or is it just full of angsty women? It doesn't really look like what I would call a lesbian club. What is it? That's
what do you think, Jennifer?
I mean, that's always been one of the questions that, and watching it again the other night, it's like you watch it and I can't go there. And it's like, well, can you not go there because maybe you slept with somebody there or you have a history with someone there?
Yeah.
Because I was very dialed in when I was watching it to see if there were other men around that just weren't predominant. And if all the women were there because it's a female band that's playing, as opposed to a lesbian club or a gay.
I think the only males were the ones that were in the band, right?
No, there was one guy dancing. I saw one guy dancing, but it was
bartender.
90% women.
Yeah, it was. And so I always taken it as it's predominantly a female audience because it's a predominantly female ska band.
That's what I always went to.
No doubt.
The way he says that weird thing was, I can't be seen there. And I'm like looking at it going, it never came off to me that that's what it was. But then I was suddenly thinking, am I seeing that wrong? Should I be seeing it that way? And then
I just think it's like a girl. I think it was maybe just a girl band, and just girls, went to it. I guess, but
I think it's probably a girl place to go to. It was where girls could hang out and dance without being hassled by men.
Yeah. I love Bowie Lowenstein's party because he thought it was one party and everyone turned it into something else, which I thought was great. And
again,
by the way, Bogie Lowenstein, I looked that guy up. He is in Not Another Teen Movie. He's the slow clapper guy. He's the one that starts the slow clap, which I thought was funny. I'm wondering if Nigel, if he ever did bring the brie. The whole thing where Verona serenades Kat while she's at soccer practice, I love that. And then she kind of returns the favor by flashing the teacher so he can escape detention is great. I do love the scene with Mr. Stratford talking to Kat, and he admits not wanting to let her daughters go. And then he talks about, then finally he sends the check to Sarah Lawrence that she can go to. I love that scene. I think it's great because that's kind of an underlying theme through the whole movie there. Kat's poem is great in the class about Verona. And when Verona makes up with Kat and buys her the guitar, great scene there. Let's get to one of the best things about this film is the quotes. There is so many great quotes. I put a few in here in the notes here, guys. Jen, let's start with you. What are some of your favorite quotes?
The whelmed. I know you can be overwhelmed, and I know you can be underwhelmed, but can you just be whelmed? Because when they said that, you kind of go, "Wait a minute." Things that make you go, what? And you start looking it up in the dictionary, and this is when we had paper dictionaries, not online dictionaries. But I think that's a valid question because you can be overwhelmed and underwhelmed. That's to me one of the funniest ones. Just because it's like Captain Obvious screaming at you, you don't really consider it, and then someone points out, and you're like, "Oh, son of a biscuit." Just anytime Kat references her innate tendencies to be obtuse. So when her dad, is like, hello, make anybody cry today? She's like, sadly, no, but it's only 4:30.
Yeah.
Anytime she's able to establish that, like, she's not, if you've seen like the Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor version of The Taming of the Shrew, Katarina's throwing stuff, and that's always been how it's been portrayed. And here it's a much more subtle. It's not, I'm angry at the world, you all suck, I want to destroy everything. It's just, I'm going to stand my ground and be who I am with no apologies. And so
she's annoying.
It's much more gratifying that way. So I like those little quotes where she gets her digs in.
Gotcha. What about you, Aaron? What are some of your favorite quotes?
Yeah, I have to say that one of those, have you made anyone cry today? Stating no, it's only 4:30. I have to say I might have used a few times. That one, another one I love, the bit where Patrick comes in and he confronts her in the bookstore, and she's like, "You still got your panties in a twist," and she says, oh God, I've got to find it now because I don't want to quote it badly. Hold on, where is it? I had it before, and then that's right. It says, someone still has her panties in a twist, and Kat's like, don't for 1 minute think you've had any effect on my panties whatsoever. And he's like, what did I have an effect on? Other than my up-top reflex, nothing. And it's just this like bang, bang. And that's why they fall in love, because they can both spar.
Yes.
That's the thing. He can bring it back as fast as, and I love
they're tossing them back and forth. And
then when she gets in the car and Joey parks behind her, and then she reverses into his car and goes, whoops, just watch Heath Ledger. Because he's just got this really deep belly laugh, and he's holding his belly because he just finds that the most endearing thing of all, because that's what she would do. But my favorite out of all of it, and I quote it all the time, is when, Cameron thought that he wasn't, getting with the sister, and he drives her home and they kiss and she leaves, and he turns around and he says, and I'm back in the game. You must use that at least 5 times a week. And I'm back in the game. It's my favorite. Just love it.
One of my favorite quotes, and I didn't get it on the first watches. It took me a while to get it. When Mr. Stratford is talking to Kat, he goes, "Where's your sister going?" And she goes, "She's meeting some bikers, big ones, full of sperm." And he goes, "Funny."
The only thing is, watching that last night, though, I mean, I think just a quick one on and that sort of scene, I do find she's very hard on the father, and I feel like, I mean, I know in the end, but I do, it just came back that as much as the teacher turns around about her white privilege and talking about moaning about the white meat, he is very correct on that.
Yeah.
That she is having a little bit of a Karen sometimes.
Yeah. There's a few others I want to mention here. One of my favorites that Patrick does is, what is it with this chick? Does she have beer-flavored nipples?
Always a boy quote.
It is. But I also like the sincere one that he has with Cameron at the party, where Patrick is trying to take care of Kat because she's drunk. She hit her head. And he says, "Yeah, but is she worth the trouble?" He says, "Well, I thought she was." And he says, "Well, she is or she isn't. See, first of all, Joey is not half the man you are. Secondly, don't let anyone ever make you feel like you don't deserve what you want. Go for it." And I love that line. I thought that was one of my favorites there. A great Cat line, too, when Michael's on his motorcycle and gets in her way. "Remove head from sphincter, then drive."
See, I use a variation of that from that, and it's open sphincter, remove cranium.
Yeah.
So I had learned that one, and so my variant was the open sphincter, remove cranium, which is pull your head at you. Mm-hmm.
Two more I got to mention, both by Patrick. Let's think about this. We go to the movies, that's $15. We get popcorn, that's $53. And then I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, wait, $38 for popcorn? Well, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Nowadays, yeah. But back in 1999, I'm like, wait a minute, what's with that? But the other one I like, too, is the quick back and forth that Verona has with Kat. And he goes, "Well, maybe you're not afraid of me, but I'm sure you thought about me naked." Okay, so this is a recent thing I've added to Couch Potato Theater. I want to ask you girls this. Who is your movie crush on the film? Jennifer, start with you.
Okay, so initially when it came out, we go with the obvious choice of Heath Ledger. This is the first time I had been introduced to him. However, as I have matured and seen other things, specifically Numbers with David Krumholtz, he's so cute in that. So yeah, adorable, absolutely adorable as a little math nerd. So now I watch him and see that how he is as Michael in 10 Things I Hate About You, and then to flip over and be watching Numbers and see him where his hair is in 10 Things all kind of MBA-ish, and then as a math professor he's got it all curly, thinned out. So I would have to, if I did choose, I would choose David Krumholtz.
Oh, cool. All right, Aaron, what about you? Who is your movie crush?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was Heath Ledger was the hottest. I have to say, I actually go with Jennifer with this. I mean, seeing him now, he is.
Are you guys serious?
No, but not as a more as the glue that holds it all together. He gets it all together. If it wasn't for him, none of this would happen.
This is true. I did not expect it. I thought I was going to be like Heath Ledger across the board.
No, but Heath Ledger is gorgeous, and he is. I mean, watching it now, he had it. You know, you look at him, and he was very good at. They were all excellent in it. But as I said, watching as a person who holds it all together, he's the one that gets it all together. And the bit with the
funny.
Where he gets the dress for the girl, the friend, and you know, he comes good at the end and he gets the girl and it's all beautiful. Yeah, he's very sweet in it. And then you watch him in that movie where he was a porn director and he got really fat and then got really thin and then pulled out again.
That was the HBO series The Deuce, right?
Yeah, I know, totally different. But then I still never forgave him for stabbing Carter in ER, killing Lucy.
I think also, and it's something that correlates with this movie, is on the surface, if you looked at David Krumholtz versus Heath Ledger, you would go, oh, Heath Ledger, because he's the obvious, just like Bianca is the obvious choice. But as you dig deeper and learn more of the story and see it's a more developed, more well-rounded character, you go with David Krumholtz or Katarina. So it kind of, in my opinion, ties really well with the movie on, yeah, at face value, Heath Ledger is adorable. But the further you the deeper you dig into the movie and the character, and it becomes, he is the one that holds it together, and he is the one that is more substantive.
And the nice thing that he did with Mandela at the end and getting her the dress, and he dresses up, you know, very Shakespearean and stuff. That was very sweet. And I was glad that they hooked up. I thought that was nice. My movie crush, Julia Stiles, always has been. And I loved her in the Bourne movies. Hated the fact they killed her off in the fourth one, which is why I kind of disregard that movie. But she was great in the Bourne films. I know she's been in something recently.
I've been Dexter, Girls in the Barrel.
Yes, that's right. I remember her in Dexter. She was good. She's in this TV series called Riviera from 2017 to 2020. I need to check that out. I have not seen this.
I always get really confused with, you know, where there's like people that are from the same mold. So there's very similar ones. And I think her and Kirsten Dunst, if they ran past me very quickly, I'd be very confused. Like they are very they were very similar. And they went for very similar roles.
Let's talk about the cast right now. Okay. We obviously, we've touched on several of them here. But I also want to get your guys' opinion on, do you think you could have seen anyone else play these roles? Do you think it was cast well? Because obviously this script is very, very smart. They delivered it really, really well. We'll get into more of the trivia later on. Some of them were tried out for other roles and got the ones they ended up with. Jennifer, what's your take on the cast?
I think it was well cast. I mean, I can't picture now. I mean, 21 years later, I can't picture anyone else doing it. But I think it was cast well. Andrew Keegan as Joey turned out to be a cult leader, so that's appropriate. I mean, that's kind of following the trajectory of where we would.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah, it is.
It was called Full Circle Cult. He started it as, he never had an ideology. He kind of did it as a Hindu yoga kind of place in LA. Was busted by the feds for selling kombucha without a license. And it was classified as a cult. And it was disbanded in 2017 or 2018.
Oh, right. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's been
It was just into doing, I didn't know it was becoming that much of, but then again, anything that has amassed a lot of people that go to, you could say, is a cult anyway.
Oh, yeah, 2014, he founded Full Circle. Yeah, there you go.
And I thought it was just going to get healings and stuff like that. But, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know it was, I don't think it went as bad as the girl from Smallville, though.
No, I don't think so either. Was there any other the cast members that jumped out at you, Jennifer?
David Krumholtz, I think it's, capturing the nerd. And can someone please explain to me why, when they were getting ready for the party, why on his dresser there was a box of cheap condoms and a bottle of secret women's deodorant? I was watching it and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, is that a box of cheap condoms? And he's like, yep. I'm like, wait a minute. Is that a, and he's like, yes, it is. And I'm like, whose bedroom are they in? Because those are two things that nerds wouldn't have at 17, 18 years old yet, because they're still nerds. And why do you have women's deodorant? So, but the way his trajectory has gone with his acting career, I think he was typecast before he was actually a type.
It's true. Yes. What about you, Aaron? How do you feel about the cast?
Oh, I think they're all wonderful. I think Andrew Keegan stands out. He was brilliant as Joey Donner. He was so good.
He was such a good jerk.
I like the fact that they kept Heath Ledger's accent to make him even more different and a bit more mysterious. I think if they made him do an American accent, he would have been a bit more cartoonish, because he didn't have to do anything. It's that sort of, oh, wow, your accent, and it's weird, and you're from down under, and, do you ride kangaroos down there? So many rumors start before there's even rumors start about, your lifestyle. So I think that, I think everybody was beautiful. I actually really love, and I remember him fondly in Pretty Woman, but Larry Miller as the father, I thought was and the funny thing is, he had such a small role in Pretty Woman, yet it stood out.
It did, yeah.
It was the scene of her getting the dress and doing the, spending the credit card. And then
help her use it.
Yes. I thought Alison Janney was just, wonderful for the little bits that she came in for. And I love, do I have a feeling he's passed, or am I just saying that?
Larry Miller?
No, Daryl Mitchell. Did he have a bad accident, or did he?
Yeah. So he went on to co-star. He was in another movie in 1999 that came out, was Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, he's in Galaxy Quest.
Then he got into a really bad motorcycle accident. He got paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh wow!
Then he was in the TV series Ed while he was in the wheelchair. That's what happened. But he's still around.
Is he still in the wheelchair? Like, is that?
Yes.
Oh, God. So I could have done more scenes with him.
The teacher, yeah.
Yeah, I could have done with, and I know that there are, because there's a scene at the end, which I'm glad they didn't put in, before she says the poem about talking to the sister, right at the end in the sort of blooper reel thing at the end, there's a cut scene where she's grabbed the sister saying, how could you set me up? And I'm glad they didn't keep it in, because I think it would have thrown the whole timing and just the feel of it. I think the fact that she just says the poem, that, she sort of comes to the conclusion that, she's going to get past all her hate. But, I would have loved, but no, I thought they were all.
Yeah, Daryl Chill Mitchell, as he went by, he was great as a teacher.
Yeah, he was just so funny. And he had some great lines.
Yeah, he did.
Pipe up, Chachi.
Yes, yeah. And then, like,
I have to say, these days, if a younger audience watched that, would go, right over their heads.
And then like he's like, and then like the Rasta guys are like, yeah, like don't even get me started on YouTube.
Yeah, there are some things where it probably has dated, and we just go with the flow, and it wouldn't resonate with, like talking about the Dawson Creek kids.
Yep. I love the cast. The cast is just great. David Krumholtz was one of my favorites, and you're right. That's a good. You made a good analogy there, Aaron. He is kind of the glue that holds everything together, and I think that is a great analogy there. Loved Larry Mitchell. I love Allison Janney as the principal, Miss Perky. She's so funny in this. It's just so funny because she like, she ends up winning an Oscar. Heath Ledger ends up winning an Oscar. It's just so funny how things come about like that. But she's great. But what's interesting too, the lead cast members, they're all around the same age, and they're actually around the right age at the time in high school. They're all very young, 17, 18, maybe 19. Gabrielle Union, who plays Chastity, the best friend of Bianca, she was like 10 years older. And then also the friend of Julia Stiles, Susan May Pratt, she was about maybe 7 or 8 years older. But
was David Krumholtz older, or does he just look older? He just
looks older. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if he was another one that was about in his mid-20s.
Yeah. He was about 2 years older than the character that he was playing, but he was still around that age.
And I have to say, we haven't mentioned him, and he is sweet. And I remember watching him as an absolute, like, a child actor. And when he did one of his first things in the remake of Dark Shadows in 1991 is Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yeah.
As I like to call him, Gordon Joseph Levitt Hewitt. I don't know. They sound the same.
I call him John Gordon-Levitt, so.
I first found out him from Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, no, I knew him before that, when he was like 7.
Yeah.
So, and he was lovely. He always looked like Heath Ledger's younger brother. To me, they were very similar looks, similar.
He was very charming in this film, and he's totally relatable, especially with guys having the crush on that girl, and him wanting to learn, not even know French. At least his character didn't. But Jennifer, you brought to my attention that actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt is very fluent in French, so he knew about that. So yeah. Great cast, guys. The director was Gil Junger. He's done a lot of episodic television. He's done a few films as well. But he was very busy. He did like Golden Girls, Dharma and Greg. He's done a few other films, but the biggest film that he did was 10 Things I Hate About You, at least in my opinion. He did Black Knight as well, and If Only. He has a few other things he did television-wise, and he's got something else coming out this year, a film. Writers were Karen McCullough and Kristen Smith, big friends, kind of based on their friendship growing up together. Running time was 1 hour and 37 minutes, came out in March.
That's a good time. Perfect.
It is a good cut, right?
That's how every movie should be.
Like right there, the hour 35, hour 40 is perfect right there. Yeah. Yes. It's funny. The older I get, the more I appreciate those faster run times.
I know.
You want to go to bed.
Because lately it seems like every movie I watch, I have to watch it in 2 parts because I'm like,
you need your pee break.
Yes.
You're getting older.
Movie came out March 31st, 1999. Budget of $16 million. Opening weekend was a little over $8 million. Worldwide gross was $53 million, so it made money. The original script was finalized in November of 97. Many of the scenes were filmed on location at Stadium High School and at the house in Proctor District. I'm sorry, Aaron?
We're doing that location.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. The prom sequence was shot over 3 days in Seattle. Costume designer Kim Tillman designed original dresses for Larissa and Julia Stiles, as well as period outfits for Susan and David Krumholtz.
I would like to say something about costuming in this movie.
Yes, please do, Jennifer.
So, and as I was watching it again, so we talked about a couple weeks ago about 80s versus 90s and how music played an integral role. I think the subtext of costuming in this movie is amazing. Because if you look at Bianca's character, she is dressed in pinks and floral prints. lot of girly, younger looking clothes, which is, I think, how Kat sees her, which is how Kat is very overprotective.
Yep.
It stood out. This is where it clicked. When she's sitting in the tire swing, she's got a long chiffon skirt on, a little pink sweater, and a pair of Mary Janes. And looking down from Kat's window, she looks about 10.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Kat is in dull grays, stripes, post-grunge kind of army greens, and a very dull, kind of to match her mood. And I think the costuming with the two main characters was very effective as a subtext of the representation of the characters.
The other thing I noticed about the costuming of my recent rewatch is that the pants that Kat wears at the party, that kind of dark blue pant, she ends up wearing them again in a later scene. And the white jeans that Bianca wears when she's hanging out with Cameron, she ends up wearing a little bit later too as well. So I like that they kind of, just like in real life, you're wearing the same clothes and stuff.
And she had the must-have accessory of that time, fat thongs. Kat had
black thong sandals that everybody had.
Thongs. I had 3 of them, and they were amazing. Fat thongs. That's all I could look at was her feet going, I love my fat thongs.
Yes, bring those back.
Fascinating. We got some critical responses here. The film received generally positive feedback from critics. Jeff Andrew from Time Out praised the film, stating, "Still grows into her character and Ledger is effortlessly charming." Brad Laidman of the Film Threat said that it was pure heart and perfectly executed. Ron Wells said, "Of all the teen films released this year, this one by far is the best," and that was a lot. Roger Ebert, we like to see what he says, gave the film 2.5 stars out of 4, saying that he liked the movie's spirit, the actors, and some of the scenes. The music, much of it by the band Letters from Cleo, is subtle and inventive while still cheerful. Entertainment Weekly listed it as number 49 on its list of best high school movies. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 69% approval rating, saying that Julia Stiles, Heath Ledger, adds strong performances to the unexpected, clever script, elevating 10 Things slightly above typical teen fare. Aaron, you think these reviews are pretty much spot on?
Yeah, I thought it would have been a higher rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but who knows?
Yeah.
No, it was. I don't remember anyone, or I've not known anyone to hate this film.
That's a good point.
No, I can't find one. People who've watched it have either loved it. It's not one of those movies where people either love it or hate it and there's no middle. This is a general just love. You might not have sat there and gone, it's my favourite film of all time. But I think like with Clueless, I think it resonated both with men and women. It wasn't just a chick flick.
No, you're right.
It had both of the, it related to both people. So a lot of couples who go and see it, and it wasn't a thing,
Jennifer, do you agree with these reviews? Or do you think it should have been a little bit better, a little worse? What do you think?
I think it should have been reviewed a little bit better. But then again, Roger Ebert, 50, 60, 7-year-old white guy, what does he know about being a teen girl?
He misses the mark quite a bit on lots of stuff.
As Kat pointed out, you could have pulled some reviews from women, but these are all reviews by men. So, but yeah, it's, to me, I think it would probably rate higher with women. But for me personally, I adored it. So I
think a lot of reviewers that had jobs were male dominated, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that's a good point. Great point. All right, let's talk about one of the awesome things about this movie, other than the quotes and the scenes and pretty much everything else. The music, the soundtrack. The film's soundtrack featured Letters to Cleo performing cover versions of Cheap Trick's I Want You to Want Me.
All right, can I just do a disclaimer first before I'm going to take it back? Not Tracy Chapman, it was Joan Armatrading, who I get totally confused with Tracy Chapman. And she's right. The one who had that Drop the Pilot that you had no idea what it was. Remember?
Joan Armatrading hit huge everywhere else except the States.
But she's in the Highlander soundtrack doing Don't Lose Your Head.
Weird.
It's the thing. Weird. But there you go. But it was Joan Armatrading, not Tracy Chapman. Taking it back.
So the soundtrack stayed on the Billboard 200 charts for 7 weeks, peaking at number 52. And we got a lot of great stuff. Of course, we get the famous song in the beginning, 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies. Some other great highlights, Bad Reputation, Joan Jett. I love the scene where they're throwing the flyers down the staircase and the song Sexy Boy by Air comes on. I love that song. It's great. Come On by Letters to Cleo. Co-Pilot, Letters to Cleo. We got Daz by Brick. Word Up by Cameo. Atomic Dog by George Clinton. Push It, Salt and Pepper. A lot of great songs in the party scene. Hypnotize, of course, the dance scene that Cat does by Notorious B.I.G. Hold Me Now, Thompson Twins, War, The Cardigans. What else we got here? Wings of Dove, New World. A lot of great. Oh, of course, several songs by Save Ferris. I Know, Can't Stop. Your Winner, Sister Hazel. What are some of your favorite songs, Jennifer?
I think the quintessential and most memorable of it is Heath Ledger singing "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You." I think all of it. So for a lot of the movies that we've talked about previously, the music was at the forefront, and to me, the music was much more of not as impactful. But that one scene when Heath Ledger is singing to her as his penance for not kissing her while she's drunk and taking advantage of her.
I think it was Frankie Valli that originally did that.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the penance to get back on her good side for, not taking advantage of her, which is kind of that, you talk about those mixed messages.
Yeah.
That scene to me was like, when he did that, you're just like, rewind.
Aaron, any songs jump out at you on the soundtrack?
Yes, it's the song, and I have a feeling I can't get it up on Spotify. It's the one of the paintball scene.
Oh gosh,
and I can't. And I'm looking on Spotify now, and I can't remember what it's called. But it's a scene at the paintball scene. But look, I love Letters to Chloe. Did brilliant covers of all those movies. Cruel to Be Kind.
Yeah.
I love that scene when they walk
Want
in.
You to Want Me at the end, yeah.
Yeah, and the scene at the prom when she walks down. And
I love that. And he calls in a favor and she walks through the crowd.
Yeah. And then they're dancing with the other band and the guys with the trumpets of, doing the little hit rolls and stuff.
Yeah, the other band was Save Ferris. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love all that. I thought that Les Clos did brilliant covers. And I love the versions they did to Cruel to Be Kind. And but yeah, that song, it's killing me. I can't remember what it's called, but the one that paintball scene is one of them that stands out as well. And the Joan Armatrading / Tracy, not Chasey Chapman song.
It's so funny that you compare those two, because now that I've seen that Joan Armatrading and what she looks like, you're absolutely right on that.
No, yeah, it's bad. It's bad, but I just can't. They sing very similar, very monotone.
So, we're going to go to filming locations here. Now, this is very, very cool. I didn't know this until I started looking things up here. And I find this fascinating. The entire film was shot using real locations. No sets at all, which I think is fantastic.
That's why it only cost them $16 million. Probably didn't have to build anything.
Exactly. And they were shot around Seattle area and Tacoma, which is just south of Seattle, all around there. And I want to mention here that let's talk about the Stratford House here. 1907 Victorian Stratford House in Tacoma, Washington House in 1999 teen comedy was sold for $1.6 million in March of 2018. This house is gorgeous. I've looked at this location like on Google Maps. It's got this great view of the water. Absolutely gorgeous. And I think one of the charming things about this movie is the locations. The school, which is called Padula High School, was actually filmed at Stadium High School in Tacoma, Washington. We got, of course, Kate and Bianca's house in Tacoma. The prom was at the Century Ballroom in Seattle. Fremont Troll Aurora Bridge was there. The Fremont Troll is that under the bridge scene that Bianca and Cameron were talking at. Gasworks. This is that scene that you like, Aaron, with that song that we haven't quite figured out yet.
I'm trying to find it.
Yes. So all around Seattle area. I wanted to get your opinion, Jennifer, on the filming locations. Did you feel it was kind of like its own character in the film?
I think it did. I think it was really smart to use all sets, not using sets, but using live filming locations. The troll and the house. I mean, the house is absolutely stunning, and to have that corner lot like there gave them a lot of flexibility with the angles to show it at. What they chose for Padua High School, which when I saw the poster and it said Padua Prom, if you remember in The Taming of the Shrew, Petruchio, who is Patrick Verona, Petruchio is a gentleman from Verona who is traveling to Padua to go to school. So I thought that was really smart. You find these little Easter egg little nuggets that tie back to Shakespeare with things that they did in the locations. So that was, to me, really, and to have that high school the way it was, very Italian, kind of gives you that Italian Renaissance kind of feel.
I'm really impressed with your William Shakespeare knowledge, not just because it's really helpful to this podcast, but I don't know a lot about the history. Shakespeare is not really one of my things, but my first reference to anything Taming of the Shrew is watching that famous episode of Moonlighting where they do reference to Taming of the Shrew. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And my mom at the time was like, oh my God, they're doing Taming of the Shrew. And it was very, very funny. And I've seen, of course, other incarnations of Taming of the Shrew because I love movies that do that. And that's this is another one of the more famous ones, but that's really cool. Erin, how did you feel about the locations? Was it something that jumped out at you right away?
Yeah, I'm amazed that they found sunny days. They're in Seattle. How the hell did they find a sunny day? Like, it's like, quick, film it in 3 days. We've got 3 days in a row. Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I mean, the school was beautiful and Gothic. The house was lovely. You felt that, it wasn't too posh, but it was nice enough. Yeah, I thought, yeah. Then, it was lovely to see it, with them on the water and going to the paintball place, which I found that song, Fascinating New Thing by Samsonic.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Now we know who sings that. That's great.
Oh, thank God.
Interesting thing. First of all, I have a link that if you want to visit these locations, there is a great article that is called The Seattle Filming Locations of 10 Things I Hate About You Mapped. And so if you want to actually drive to all these locations, you can do so. And I think that's great, including the house. You can drive by there. Interesting thing about the stadium where the soccer practice is and Verona serenades Cat. Stadium High School appropriately looks over Stadium Bowl, where scenes like Patrick's serenade were filmed, and Michael did the stunt with his motorcycle. The 15,000-seat stadium is home field to both Woodrow Wilson High School and Stadium High School. So 2 high schools share that stadium, which I find interesting. That would be a fun thing to do there, wouldn't you say, Erin?
Yes, definitely. After we go to where they did singles and where they did...
We're going to have to take a very, very long honeymoon, and I'm good. I'm good with that. So
it's true.
All right, guys, we got some more stuff coming up for you. We've got some trivia and some other final thoughts. But before we go there, we're going to take a quick break and let you know what other great podcasts are here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. We like to continue to feed your ears by inviting you to listen to the Fandom Podcast Network and all of the other awesome shows we have to offer. It starts with our flagship show, Culture Clash, our weekly pop culture news podcast. Bloody Kings, our Highlander podcast. Couch Potato Theater, our podcast celebrating our favorite movies. Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback podcast discussing a year in movies and our favorite pop culture topics. End Zone, the NFL podcast. Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. Union Federation, our Star Trek and Orville podcast. Hair Metal, the 80s and early 90s rock metal podcast. Type 40, our Doctor Who podcast. Lethal Mullet, a 1980s and 90s action film podcast. What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast. And our newest show, Making Treks, a new Star Trek podcast with a deep dive into the final frontier with host Mark Newbold and Adam P. O'Brien. You can enjoy all of these great Fandom Podcast Network shows on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also find us on Facebook under Fandom Podcast Network. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter under Fandom Podcast Network. Thank you for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom. All right, welcome back to Couch Potato Theater, 10 Things I Hate About You. We've got some fun trivia here. As we mentioned, the school is called Padula High. The scene in which Kat reads 10 Things poem was the first and only take, according to the DVD extras, and Kat's tears towards the end of the poem were real and not planned. This was Heath Ledger's first American film. David Krumholtz, who plays Michael in the film, wrote a piece for Vulture explaining why he thought the movie worked so well. He stated the entire cast became fast friends. Joseph Gordon-Levitt turned me onto Phish, the band Phish, P-H-I-S-H, and I turned him on to the Wu-Tang Clan. The actor wrote Gabrielle Union had us on Stitches. Julia Stiles brought her own brand of Soho-bred artistic intellectualism, only at 17, mind you, and Larissa, laughter filled the room, and we were marveled at the toneness of Andrew Keegan's muscles, a great sport. Aaron, obviously, this is one reason why this cast works so well, is that the chemistry was great because they were all friends.
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, as I said, they were worried about Heath Ledger coming in later, but I think that lended to the, being mysterious and being that out. He was the outsider. I mean, even though Kat wasn't friendly, she did know everybody. I mean, Cameron was new, but he sort of got in with the crowd. But, having Patrick still being a little bit on the outside, and him again, I don't think if he had had the any other accent, it wouldn't have worked as well. I think just having an Australian accent just slightly, gave him,
sets him aside, and they established that right away when Miss Perky says, kangaroo boy and stuff like that. So yeah. Jennifer, the obviously David Krumholtz is speaking to the chemistry here, and it seems like they got along really, really well. Even it seems like some of the other cast members, the supporting cast members, they were just great.
I was doing the research for this. Apparently, David Krumholtz had to teach Andrew Keegan how to draw a penis.
Yes. He did, on his own face.
Yeah, so he had to explain to him how to do this little. And it's like you get that and you go, that kind of shows you how kind of young they might have been. Like we're still before the turn of the century. There's still that kind of innocence that kids nowadays probably are. That knowledge is gone by the age of 6. But back then that kind of speaks to maybe how they were raised or what they were exposed to, if their parents were hyperprotective. Just not knowing, like, I can look down at it, but I don't know how to draw it.
Yeah.
He was a child actor, wasn't he, old Keegan?
Who? Oh, Keegan? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd been in something else. I can't remember what it was.
Heath Ledger, I want to ask you guys about this. Heath Ledger beat out Josh Hartnett and Ashton Kutcher, whose stars were on the rise. Although I don't think anyone could replace Heath Ledger. Josh, maybe. Yeah, Ashton, no. What do you think, Jennifer?
I don't think so. I'm vaguely familiar with the realm of what Josh Hartnett has done. Ashton Kutcher is just that goofy boy from that 70s show. So I think that Heath Ledger was able to bring a level. Like yes, it's a teen comedy, and yes, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek Shakespeare. But I mean, it kind of the way he played it, you can see what he did later in his career. He's a really talented actor.
Yeah. According to Larissa Olenek, it was Julia Stiles who suggested Frankie Valli's "Can't Take My Eyes Off You" for Heath Ledger to sing her on the football field. That's very cool. And according to the 10th anniversary commentary by the cast, Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles began dating during filming. They broke up later in January 2000. This I remember hearing about. The table dance scene is what led Julia Stiles landing the leading role in Save the Last Dance. I think that's one of the most iconic dances. Wouldn't you say, Jennifer?
Yeah. No. Getting on a table, and those parties were what I grew up going to in the 80s. Like that crush of people. You can't move pegs in the backyard. Like, that was a normal Friday and Saturday for me in high school. So to see that, just, we're going to convene around Mr. Cuervo and, the different cliques and everything. So to see that, and then have, the fact that Heath Ledger's character, Patrick, basically protects her and gets her out of there and keeps her safe, shows to how the character was developed. So I think that was a great scene.
Aaron, did you ever recreate that Julia Stiles dance on the table?
No. Did I? Well, maybe not on the table.
The closest I think I curtain calls.
I think I created that Julia Stiles dance at a Sebastian Bach concert in Georgia somewhere, where I may have had a couple of too many drinks. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I remember that well. Okay, moving on. So the band Letters to Cleo, lead singer Kay Hanley told Pop Dose that the experience, now remember at the end of the film, they're on the top of the school, the whole band playing. She says that the experience scared the band. They had to perform the song on a patch of roof the size of Hanley's kitchen on a windy day. And she said, this is a helicopter shot. It cost $500,000 every time the helicopter has to take off. So don't F this up, Hanley recalled. As we started playing, we saw the helicopter appear off in the distance. It's hard to say how far away it was at first because we were so high up in the air, but then all of a sudden the helicopter does this dive bomb directly towards us. The helicopter is out of control. It's supposed to be coming at us and I'm thinking, don't F it up. Keep singing the song. Don't F it up. It costs $500,000 every time. Said it was unbelievably scary, but it turned out to be an amazing shot. Another thing I want to mention, by the way, the lead singer, Kay Hanley of Letters to Cleo, in one of my guilty pleasure films of Josie and the Pussycats, she's actually the singing voice for Josie, played by Jennifer Lee Cook. She does all the singing and records all the songs and everything. Very talented musician.
Now, is it Jennifer Jason Leigh or Rachel Lee Cook? Because it was
Rachel Lee Cook.
Okay.
Yeah, Rachel Lee Cook. Yes,
just wanting to make sure.
Different Lee, yes. During a Q&A of the screenwriters, Karen McCullough revealed that there was where the title came from. The title is based on a diary that I made in high school, she explained. I had a boyfriend named Anthony that I was frequently unhappy with. I made a list of 10 things I hate about Anthony. When Kristen Smith and I decided to write this, I went through all of my high school diaries to bone up on the angsty memories. And when I told her about the list, she was like, that's our title. There you go. We got some accolades here. 10 Things I Hate About You provided breakthrough roles for Stiles, Ledger, Gordon Levitt. Gordon Levitt, Stiles only each received Young Star nominations for Best Actor and Actress in a Comedy Film. The movie was nominated for 17 Choice Awards. Breakout Star, Stiles, a bunch of others here. So obviously these aren't Oscar and stuff like that, but definitely got some awards there. But I want to ask you guys about a couple topics here. These aren't in the notes. Came up with these a little bit later. I want to ask you guys about Kat and Bianca's sister relationship here. Kat feels a little protective, does not want Bianca to go through what she did. She later confesses to her what happened with her and Joey Donner. Jennifer, I want to ask you about the Kat and Bianca sister relationship. Did you think it was realistic?
Yeah, I do. I think there's quite, like with everything else in this movie, there's a lot of layers. So Kat and Bianca, their dynamic. Kat protecting her, taking on the mother role from the mother that left 3 years ago. Kat having a little bit of jealousy towards her father because why didn't you make these rules for me dating, but you've made rules for Bianca dating? So there's so many different facets in she takes so many roles, and I think that kind of contributes to her angst. You know, she feels like she has to be the protector, and she has to be the mother, and she has to keep her safe because dad can't do it. Even though she does want, and she wants to escape, she wants to get out. So if she can make sure her sister's protected but leave, like that's her main goal. So I think the sibling relationship between the two sisters is very realistic, and that speaks to a lot of kids these days on having to take on multiple roles within the household, coming from not broken homes. I hate using that term, but from mixed families or a single mother or single father. You know, it's not always you know, two parents married. They're both your biological parents in a house with a white picket fence. So I think it's a very realistic portrayal.
What about you, Aaron? Do you think it was a realistic relationship between two sisters, and what did you think about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I had a brother, so it was, but you know, I was very protective of him. I was 4 years older than him, and I remember going to parties and making sure that sort of like an older friend of mine would keep an eye on him if there were ever fights and, you know, get him. So, yeah, I think that, yes, sort of Kat saw it as, you know, she did that thing where she slept with Joey after the mother died, and that was obviously a reflection of that happening. Obviously, she wanted comfort and she wanted this and she wanted that, and then he wanted more, but she was really only doing it to maybe get back at the mother, to have comfort, to rebel, to whatever. And then she didn't want to, and then that's why she went on this sort of really pulled back, but sort of thinking that she's against the sister, but she's actually trying to protect the sister.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the dichotomy between those two, and I felt the protectiveness and but with Bianca wanting to experience things for herself and not be, you know, trapped, basically. Well, we touched on it a little bit. I want to ask you guys about Mr. Stratford having trouble letting his daughters go and live a life. You know, he's very strict about this no dating, and then decides to kind of have a little fun with it, realizing, you know, Kat's not going to date anyone, so, you know, I'm going to make this new rule. Maybe not entirely based in reality, but I still bought it. What did you think, Jennifer?
Oh, I totally believed it. Because I actually had those conversations, because I also have brothers. I don't have sisters, but I have two brothers, and one of my brothers is 8 years older and the other one is 2 years younger. And I remember distinctly having conversations with my mom saying, can I go to my boyfriend's house and stay the night? No, you can't. Why? Because you're a girl. And and then going, well, I'm going to go ask the other parent.
Infuriating, it must have been.
Oh.
Double standard, you know, yeah.
This might be your mom. I'm going to go ask dad. And dad's like, yeah, go ahead. So that parental thing, like, you know, having one parent home and him being a gynecologist and up to my elbows in placenta and hell is just a sauna. It's like he sees it. He sees it in reality every day as an OBGYN, obviously, with an increase of teen pregnancies. So that's his concern, the breakers full of sperm thing. So I think it's a valid for Ed, but he's able to make light of it. It's not so strict that it's like he's overbearing. It's, I'm going to be strict, but I'm going to give you guys some wiggle room. I'm going to work with you.
Aaron, what I know about you and your family, I didn't see this type of major strict parent. But I want to ask you, did you know any fathers like this?
No, but I played the game. So
explain that.
Well, playing the game is that if your parents say, "Oh, go out and come back at 9:30," I would come back at 9, so that the next time it would be later and later.
Smart.
Yeah, played the game. Play the game.
Follow the rules.
Yeah, you know, just play the game.
You were working for more leniency and more.
I don't think it really had. You know, I mean, again, being of a certain age group, being Gen X, as they say, the sort of latchkey childhood. Then both my parents were working, so I had to look after my brother. So did they know what went on? Yeah. You know, occasionally I'll come up with, guess what happened when you were out and these boys came over with my friend Nikki Smythe and this happened and Eden was in the house. Mum's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, but we survived. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, look, I know people that do have strict parents and, you know, and I know parents that won't let them watch this or that, you know, they can't watch this film or they can't because this is that. I think some parents have gone the other way. I don't think he sat there and said, you can't watch this and you can't. What he was worried about was boys. I don't think he was really worried about the girls, but what the boys could put onto them.
Right.
And that Bianca was so sort of more innocent than Kat, because Kat, he knew that Kat could hold herself. But,
right.
you know, but more, Bianca was more sort of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and that she could end up falling for whatever Joey wanted. And then he would end up, you know, having to sort of basically look after the baby. So it's, and I also think with, you know, with the mother obviously leaving, then, you know, he was worried that the girls would sort of go too. So he does half and half.
Yeah.
He's not that strict because he does in the end let them all sort of go out. Yeah. It's just he wants to sort of, you know, still be, as he says to Kat, you know, Bianca lets me play a game once in a while. You've kept me on the bench for years.
Yep. Good quote. Yep. Okay, so I'm glad you girls are here because I really, really want to get your opinion on this. So one of the underlying and maybe main plots of the film is the agreement or the plan that Michael puts into play about getting someone who's stupid with a lot of money to back them, making it seem like that Joey Donner is in charge here about paying Patrick to take Kat out. Okay. This felt a little more realistic than the bet that is made in She's All That, and we're trying to turn a nerdy girl into a prom queen. But I want to ask you guys about this. So how would you react if a guy was paid to take you out, but then starts to fall for you? How would you react, Jennifer?
Forgivable.
What?
Absolutely forgivable.
Forgivable? Yeah.
Forgivable. Yeah. I mean, if it.
But how would it be forgivable? Obviously, we got a great scene in the film where
right.
You know he
she
pours his heart out to her, and then of course obviously, how would you?
I'm at my prom, and that comes out like that. I am pissed. I am going to kill you. But if taking the relationship as a whole and trying to determine what was real and what was you were paid to take me out, I think you would have to really weigh it. Like, when were the real moments and when were the fake moments? Like, as the relationship developed.
Would you be able to be objective about it at the time, or would it take you time to figure that out?
It would. At what age are we talking? Are we talking me in high school?
Oh yeah, high school. Yeah.
Me in high school, it would have taken me quite a bit of self-loathing and internal dialogue about I'm not worth it and stuff like that.
Right.
But also having a need when I was that age, watching all my friends date and not dating in high school. I think it would. At that age, it probably would have been more devastating than I would say it would be now.
Right. Aaron, what if someone did that to you? What if someone was paid to take you out, but then started falling for you, but then you found out the secret?
Oh, it wouldn't have worried me.
Yeah?
No. Well, one, because it would have been the other way around. By the time anyone gets their act together, not hinting, I would have made the first move and it would have been all over and done with. So I'm never going to let that go. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird sort of, I don't know, someone wants to take me out and they're paying for me to go out and I'm not paying and we're going to the movies and someone, yeah, why not? They were cute. And then they started calling me, bonus. And I don't know. I'm that sort of person. Those things sort of don't worry me, but that's just me.
Very cool. Let's talk about sequels here. Now, there was brief talk of a movie called 11 Things I Hate About You sequel, but a little bit different thing changed things up here. It starred Evan Rachel Wood and Thomas McDonald as two kindred spirits who met when they were both in the middle of trying to commit suicide, and it never came out.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah. Director Gil Junger, reteaming with producer Andrew Lazar, hit the ground running. We were open. We wanted to get a fresh young cast. But it so happens we started meeting girls. Evan Rachel Wood, much like Julia Stiles, did outshine all of the other actors in terms of talent, terms of depth, emotion, and we settled on her. After 6 screen tests to pair Wood with the right guy, we ended up with somebody phenomenal regarding this McDonald guy. They said that it was electric with Wood. They also had Skylar Grey in Letters to Cleo role as a cool live music presence. Production, however, halted in February 2013 when the CEO of In Tandem, the UK-based company that was financing the film, stepped down. By then, Wood was pregnant with her son. It was born in July, and things kind of fell down and nothing happened. There was a lawsuit and all that kind of stuff. So never did happen. But I wanted to ask you guys, put yourself back into 1999 when this film comes out. It's a hit. You guys see it. Erin's still playing her pirated copy. What happens in 10 Things I Hate About You 2 sequel? Keep in mind, let's say all the cast returns, okay? What happens in 10 Things I Hate About You 2, Jennifer? What do you want to see?
I don't know if you could do a sequel because this movie was released in March of 1999 and April 19th, 1999 was Columbine. So I think there was it's like there's a couple shifts that happened around that time. It was the Columbine school shootings became more prevalent. So I think that innocence is gone. So I don't think you could go back because I know in the initial screenplay for 10 Things that Mandela was supposed to have done suicide attempts and it's supposed to be a much darker comedy. But I think with that happening and seeing that those pressures, because there's a lot of peer pressure in this movie, but it's made light of, but then you get Columbine happening and that just, I think it kind of made a national shift, kind of like 9/11 did for the high school kind of genre. I don't think it could have been made.
But if you could see something happen with these characters, if you could see a sequel though, and them all returning, what would you like to see? It's a great point though, and there was a tonal shift there. But
yeah, I don't, to me, there were no openings. There was nothing left unanswered. Everything had been resolved. If you really want to have a stretch, then get David Krumholtz and have him have a girl, but that's numbers.
Okay, gotcha. What about you, Erin? What have you seen if they did a 10 Things I Hate About You sequel with all the cast returning?
As I remember, there was Grease, and then there was Grease 2. Which I actually like, but I'm the rare person of that. But no,
I love it.
I do love Grease 2. But no, I love Grease 2. I love Grease 2, and I love it.
So hold on. You're saying that this wouldn't have worked because Grease 2 is horrible, but then you guys are both saying that it's like the best guilty pleasure ever.
Yeah, but I'm just saying what they went for in Grease 2 was that sort of turn, because what they would have done.
But they didn't have all the original cast back. I'm saying if you get all the original cast back.
Yeah, right. And then they would have done the role reversal of the girl and the guy. He would have probably been do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. That's what they did in Grease 2. They did the role reversal. That's how they do these sequels. When you can't open anything up, you do it all again and just reverse the roles, which they probably would have done in this. You would have all been, but then she would have been the outcast and he would have, do you know, that's what, no, look, thank God it didn't go there. That's all I'm going to say. I don't even want to entertain, though I have to say we could do one day Grease 2 because it's a gem in its own way.
Oh my God!
I think Jennifer's on that one with you.
I love that movie.
I can even quote all the songs because she's cool rider.
You guys are killing me here. Okay. Well, there was a remake, a TV series, 10 Things I Hate About You TV series from 2009 to 2010, 20 episodes.
Exactly.
ABC Family ordered a pilot episode, and the only returning cast member was the father, Larry Miller. Lindsay Shaw played Kat Stratford. She was in the TV series, what is it? Drawing a blank here. Dirty Little Liars. Megan Martin.
Pretty Little Liars?
Yes. Yeah, Pretty Little Liars. Is that what it is? Yeah. Megan Martin played Bianca Stratford. There's a Star Trek Discovery tie-in here. Ethan Peck, who plays Spock in the new Star Trek, and also is going to be in the new Star Trek spin-off from it. He played Patrick Verona. Nicholas Braun played Cameron James. Now, what's interesting about this is I remember watching several of these episodes when they came out. Didn't capture the magic of it. What was interesting, though, was that the character of Joey Donner was in there, played by Chris Zilka, but he's not in the first episode. There's a character that is like kind of like the bitchy girl. She's like the cheerleader, the head cheerleader, and her father has a lot of pull. So like the principal is like tiptoeing around all the things that she does because they don't want to get funding pulled, and so there's all this kind of little stuff going on. But Larry Miller was still good as the father, but didn't quite capture the magic. Jennifer, did you see this?
No, nope. Probably the reason I didn't. I mean, I watch a lot of stuff on ABC Family, and now Freeform. Yes, I know. But I think probably because I don't. The source material is basically about a woman who has a temper being tamed, for lack of a better term. It's done. The exposition is done. The story is done. It's clean. There's no reason to go back into a series explaining to me how this man who's being paid to take out this, it's redundant. And so I probably went, okay, whatever. No, I'll just go watch the movie.
Yeah. The one thing I noticed, too, was Cameron, who's played by Nicholas Braun, and his friend Kyle Kaplan, who plays Michael. There was like a foot height difference between the two, and the camera angles were just really weird when they were trying to see them doing it. It was just, one was looking up all the time. It just got weird. Obviously didn't last very long. In June of 1999, the Scholastic Corporation published a novelization of the story, adapted by David Levithan. The story is retold as if the film, with each chapter, is written from a point of view of either Bianca, Cameron, Kat, Patrick, or Michael. So there we go, guys. Let's wrap things up here. I want to get your guys' final thoughts. First of all, this has been a lot of fun talking about this film. I love your guys' insight on it. But Jennifer, give me your personal reflection on it now. How does it stand up overall? Is this something you're going to keep returning to? Is this film have this high rewatchability for you? Tell me about it.
I think it absolutely does. I think I love Shakespeare. I mean, I was an English major right out of high school, loved English, loved writing. So I loved Shakespeare. I loved this play. And to see the updated version where it's not Kate being beaten into submission, but kind of wooed into it, I think it's really sweet. And it lets us be bitchy. And it's okay to be a bitch. And it's really
question for you. Since you're I would say the expert between us three here regarding William Shakespeare, where does this film rank of all the other films that are based off of a telling of Shakespeare's work? So
we had the Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes, Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. We had all these. The one with Drew Barrymore.
Ever After?
Not Ever After. The other, where she goes back to school and she's someone in disguise, and it's
Never Been Kissed.
Yes, Never Been Kissed. I think this is the best retelling of the Shakespeare that was brought current. I think it's smart, it's funny, it's a nice, refreshing update. So I think it's, out of all of the kind of taking the source material and creating a new version of it, or a viewpoint of it, I think this is one of the cleanest and smartest.
Did you see Get Over It, where they do the play?
It's so nice.
Part of it is they do the play for Midsummer's Night's Dream. Did you ever see that one?
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead?
No, get over it. It's the one with Ben Foster.
Ben Foster's in it, and Kirsten Dunst is in it, and I was kind of curious.
No.
It kind of had a Better Off Dead vibe to it, where the girlfriend dumps the guy and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of curious about that. But thank you. I appreciate the input and the insight, of course, regarding William Shakespeare here. Aaron, give me your thoughts here. Is this one of your most rewatchable comedies? Where does it sit with you?
Yeah, no, totally. I could watch it again tomorrow. I think every scene there's not a scene where I get bored. It's like, I think I can go to the bathroom now. I love the soundtrack. Yeah, and it's totally, other than a few things that I will get, but maybe not millennials will get because of just pop references, it's totally rewatchable today, as it will be in another 10 years when it's 31 years old. Again, I mean, but there are ones I could sit there and say Valley Girl is that, even though it is very steeped in the 80s, of what it's saying is very much rewatchable now because it sort of goes above that sort of 80s film. And Clueless. I think Clueless stands the test of time. I think that. But then again, that's another source material of Jane Austen. It's Emma.
Yeah.
So
it's Emma.
I feel that, there are some great Shakespearean ones. This would probably be one of my favorites. I wasn't a majorly big fan of the Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought they did it well. I like the old style, so I loved Much to Do About Nothing. I can't go past that as a wonderful. If you want to introduce yourself to Shakespeare and not sit there and go, oh, my God, I'm going to rip my eyes out. Much to Do About Nothing is just an afternoon of pure bliss, even if you just want to sit there and watch Italy. And Keanu Reeves is in it, and he's good.
Jennifer, was there any other films that you wanted to recommend that were based off of Shakespeare that you liked?
Actually, in preparation for this, I actually watched the Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor version of Taming of the Shrew because I think that's one of the best ones. And I think because they had such a fractious relationship, that headbutting between Caterina and Petruchio. If you want to get a sense of, how he wrote his comedy, and yes, the language and the these and the thous and the this and the done and the wits and the whats. But for, it's a Zeffirelli. It's Franco Zeffirelli. So it's a great film. It was produced in Italy. So it's a good point of reference. It's 1967, I think it was done. But their relationship was so tumultuous between Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor that they brought a lot to those roles.
I was probably just drunk all the way through it.
I think Dick was.
Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on with us. I'm glad you enjoy this film as much as we do. And when we were recording that time warp about teen comedy, I was like, yeah, I think we got a winner here.
It was fun. I love this movie.
Aaron, as always, thank you for coming and talking about our favorite movies.
Thank you for having us back. And what's the next one we're going to do?
We're looking at getting you guys maybe some Valley Girl or maybe some, I like to do Lost Boys maybe too. Yeah.
I could sneak
Grease 2.
You
Grease 2, you're on your own.
There we go.
I think we should have a girl podcast.
There you go.
Girls on this channel.
Of all the daggy movies that you love, but no one else does.
With all the adorable little boys.
Yeah. Girls just want to have fun.
Oh, God, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. This is a blast. Love having you guys on the podcast with. And thank you for joining us here on the Fandom Podcast Network and Couch Potato Theater's special presentation of 10 Things I Hate About You. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Jennifer. And until next time, we will see you on the couch. Thank you, everyone.